unpacked already, I suppose.
No, well then go and help Bella. Come and see your room, Emma. It has a lovely view of the sea. It's going to be a wonderful holiday.
It won't rain, will it?
Oh, it's you.
I've had warmer greetings.
I'm expecting a buyer.
You always are.
What time is it?
Gone 7.
Damn. Well, you may as well come in.
Shall I take them off again, sir?
No, we're finished for now, Lucy.
Mr. Steer's exhibition is a calculated insult to the general public.
Either a deliberate daub or so much midsummer madness. Dear God, do you think I'd dance naked in Piccadilly Circus?
Well, you must be doing something right if the Telegraph doesn't like you. You can't expect to do something new and then have them love you for it. My, you look nice in clothes.
Good evening. Sorry you're going away, sir.
I'll be back soon. And there are plenty of others to pose for.
Good night.
Good night. Listen, Steer, come away with us to France. Look if it's money.
You know I can't pay you back. Anyway, I like Suffolk. It suits me. Nothing ever happens.
How's the fishing, John?
Not too good.
How is Mrs. Beers?
About the same, I reckon.
Well, it's your usual room, Mr. Steer, as you can see. I'm sure you'll be quite comfortable. Oh, and I'd be obliged if you keep those windows closed at night on account of the midges. I'll bid you good night, then.
Ain't those midges, Mr. Steer?
I know it's midges, Mr. Steer.
I caught one! Bella, put it in the bucket, quick! I got the most. Only because Bella gave her a bigger piece of bacon. Yes, and it's not fair. Let's count mine. Let's count mine. 1, 2, 3. I got 3 million. No, you didn't.
That's quite enough. We are going to the beach.
Hello. Allow me.
Hello, I'm Emma. Emma Hetherington.
Steer, Phillip Steer. Kind of you to drop in.
I'm on holiday for the summer.
I'm here for the summer as well. I'm a painter.
Don't you have to work?
I sometimes sell a picture.
Papa was too busy to come. Emma! Would you paint my picture?
If you like. How can I find you?
At Key House. And ask for Miss Emma Hetherington.
My dear fella, I heard you were back.
Please, don't get up.
Oh, don't fuss, there's a good man. I'm not quite ready for the knacker's yard yet. Oh, mangy little devil, ain't he? I'm trying to teach him a few words.
It's parrots that talk, I think.
Parrots, partridges, it's all the downstairs. What use is a bird if you can't shoot it? I didn't think we'd see you again.
I still have things to do here.
I wish I could see this place through your eyes. Damned if I know what the attraction is.
So why do you stay?
Oh, I was in London once, didn't like it. Or at least this year, society has come to us. I mean, you, of course. Now tenants at Key House. And Mrs. Hetherington, Jude Catesby's niece. Married to some fellow in the city, and they're 3 girls. You're bound to run across them.
I think I already have.
Sophie! Mary!
We'll do it, Emma.
Oh, you're absolutely soaked, Mrs. Steer. Come over here by the fire. You can better get down to the harbour, John. I'll see to this.
You shouldn't go out there, John. It's dangerous.
Boat's on in yet, Mr. Steer.
Emma, come away from the window.
I'm not a bit frightened. I couldn't sleep.
It's all right this once. None of us can.
I wish Papa was here.
I know. Come to bed now.
Terrible, Steer. Terrible. Did you hear it? I hardly slept at all. Came down straight after breakfast to offer what help I could. Help? Spiritual help. People need guidance at times like this.
They found him!
Mrs. Todd's boy. No, there's no sign of the husband.
Go home, Alice. We'll keep looking for him. Go on home.
Arthur.
Dreadful scenes at Key House. A tree collapsed. Terrible damage.
Oh, now, Miss Emma, it's not quite that bad.
I was there, Bella. It happened in my room. I was nearly killed.
Oh, don't exaggerate, Emma.
I'm sure the child knows what happened.
Mr. Steer is here about the tree.
The tree. It's very kind of you, but I'm afraid the gardener's already had it removed.
No, you see, I met Emma and came to see if there was any way in which I might help. I'm a painter.
The rebuilding work's hardly started, but I'm sure there will be work for you, though. Perhaps if you speak to the housekeeper.
No, Mama. Mr. Steer paints pictures.
I'm not sure I understand. You want to paint the tree?
No. No, you see, Emma and I met the other day at the beach. I was out walking this morning and we met again. She told me of your troubles. I volunteered to help.
I'm afraid that the garden will never be the same again.
2 men from the village were killed last night.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
I watched her face when they told her her husband and son were drowned. She was magnificent.
It must have been dreadful.
In one way, yes, of course. But what a privilege to be there, to see life stripped down to its essentials. It's a great stroke of luck for an artist.
How fortunate for you.
I've offended you. I'm sorry. If I could bring them back, I would. I can't apologize for the way I saw it, can I?
Emma, go and ask Bella for tea. Go and ask in the kitchen. We must do something, that poor woman.
But if there's anything I can do...
Mr. Steer, we've heard so much about you. How vexing to be out when you pay us a call. Imagine an artist in Suffolk. Oh, my dear, you've heard about our tragedy. Oh, so sad. What terrible lives these people have. We shall help, of course. Mr. Smithson, my old friend, tells me we are privileged indeed, Mr. Steer. Your fame goes before you.
I think he exaggerates, Miss...
Catesby. Oh, modesty. How rarely one finds that in this decaying age. Famous or not, you are a beacon of culture in the gloom of Walberswick, I assure you. But, Mr. Steer, you're not going to lecture us, I trust.
I sincerely hope not.
Oh, well, good. My friend Mrs. Campbell entertains poets, and they do rather rant at one. Painters, I'm sure, are quiet by nature. Does Reginald know any poets, my dear?
None that I know of.
Oh, sound judgment.
Reginald.
My husband.
Mr. Smithson tells me you are something of a regular here, Mr. Steer.
Every summer since '84.
Ah?
The light here is particularly fine. Painting is all about light.
Oh?
At least for me.
You see, Isobel? Barely a moment's acquaintance, and already we've learned something. You're very modern, I expect.
I paint what I see and feel, that's all.
Why, I do believe Mr. Steer is winding up to lecture us after all. Oh, our lives are so pitifully dull. You must feel leaden in our company.
No, not really.
Well, it's very gracious of you to say so. All the time, your soul must be shrieking for release.
Mr. Steer's my guest, really. He promised to paint my picture.
Oh, and what would he find to inspire him in your bland and unformed features?
Don't pester him, Emma. He has important work to do.
I said I would, and I will.
Tea?
Believe in the word of God and take comfort in the knowledge that your husband and son are now at peace.
Well, Mrs. Todd, we cannot seek to explain the ways of the Lord.
I don't know what the explanation could be, ma'am.
You must not give way to despair and cynicism, Mrs. Todd. Place yourself in God's hands. He will provide.
I'm sure Mrs. Todd will find great comfort in your words, Reverend. Now, my dear, what is to be done with you?
I don't know as we can stay here, ma'am. My brother's got 4 of his own to look out for. My sister in Ipswich says she'll take us in till I can find work.
But do you want to leave Walberswick, Mrs. Todd?
I've always lived on the sea, ma'am. Don't know nothing else. Always felt frightened and out of sorts in the town.
The old ways are changing, Mrs. Todd. Look on the future as a new land waiting to be discovered.
There are always the commissioners for the poor, Mrs. Todd.
We'll manage, thank you, Mrs. Round.
I'm pleased to hear it. Arthur.
Should have been me that drowned. I got no life without him.
Aren't you finished yet?
Listen, can you hear that?
What?
Why, the bells, of course, under the sea. On a still day like this, they say you can hear the bells of old Dunwich Church still ringing. The whole town slipped into the sea years ago. Houses, roads, all swallowed up.
I want to see what you've done. Why have you written all over it?
To remind me. I write down the colors exactly as I see them now. One day, this might be a painting. I want to remember exactly what the sun looked like, for example.
But anyone knows that.
Perhaps.
Look at it now and tell me what you see. You see? If I painted that now, I'd want to show that special brightness, the dazzle of it. Not just a yellow disc in the sky.
What colour will my dress be?
Why, the colour that it is, of course.
Mm. May I have my picture now, please?
Not yet. Soon. Miss Catesby, now you, I'm convinced, would make a noble subject for a portrait.
It's unbecoming to say it, but I was considered one of Guildford's brightest stars. But time, alas, marches on, even in Surrey.
Nonsense, Judith. You don't look a day over 60.
No, youth must have its day, however brief. Isobel must be your subject.
Mrs. Hetherington?
Well, I think that's a splendid idea. Although art can hardly match the reality.
It seems you have no choice.
I'm sure I shall be a very poor model. Where's Emma?
Thank you for a lovely day.
Come on, Emma.
Good night, Mr. Steer.
Please. Philip.
Philip.
I can't sleep.
You're too big to sleep with me now. What would the maids think? What would your father think?
They are a stubborn, ungrateful people.
They're very poor and their life is hard.
Hard, certainly. None of us can expect anything less.
The poor are always with us.
I have never fully understood that item of the scripture, Mr. Smithson. The poor need not be with us. But if they had ambition and would pull themselves up, then the parish money could be spent on better things. The more we give them, the more they spend. Charity often seems to make them dependent, or so Round feels. They must help themselves. Don't you agree, Mrs. Hetherington? Mrs. Hetherington?
Oh, sorry.
They must help themselves.
Oh, forgive me here. Please do take another sandwich. Could you come outside for a moment now? What is it, Bella? Philip, why didn't... Reginald.
Mother is dead. She suffered very little.
Very sorry, Reginald.
Now we must return to London as quickly as possible.
But surely now that you're here...
I thought it best that you hear the news from me in person. Perhaps you'd ask Bella to get the children ready.
But they're so young, they won't understand. Surely it would be better if they stayed here with Aunt Jude.
As you wish.
Oh, will you be wanting dinner, Mr. Steer?
Dinner? How can you think of dinner on such a beautiful day, Mrs. Pierce?
Oh, somebody has to, Mr. Steer. That's the way it goes.
Morning. Morning.
Have on.
Good night, Reginald.
Isobel? I thought perhaps...
Of course.
Is that my picture you're painting?
Not yet.
Are you going to paint Mama as well?
I think so.
Sophie and Mary said you weren't going to paint me at all.
I said I would. When is your mother coming back?
I don't know.
Will you tell me when she comes back? Emma, will you?
What?
Tell me.
Yes.
Nothing but news of the Jubilee. Is Walberswick pleasant?
Very, thank you.
Key House?
It's rather large for so few of us. We could have made do with something less grand.
Fortunately, Isobel, we no longer have to make do. It's the best house in the area, and very suitable for my family. It was also surprisingly inexpensive.
It is very beautiful. The children love it.
Anyone called?
Mr. Smithson's a regular visitor. Reverend Round and his wife.
No one else?
No, no one else.
What about this painter? Stark, isn't it?
Oh, Mr. Steer. He's someone Emma found on the beach. He's called once or twice. Aunt Jude finds him rather amusing.
Emma says he's doing her portrait.
I'm sure he's just being kind.
Kind? Well, be sure you find out his price before he starts. Kind he may be, but there'll be something in it for him, I expect.
Those principles may apply in business, Reginald. I'm sure Mr. Steer isn't looking for a reward.
And isn't painting a business? Why, Millet has made a vast fortune out of painting. People paint in the expectation of selling, don't they? Isobel, the house needs a hostess now that Mother's gone. Why not stay?
I think I ought to go back. We shouldn't spoil the children's holiday.
As you like. I suppose I can stay on at the club for a while.
How's the sea, sir?
It's the same, I suppose.
It's never the same, sir. Always changing. It's the sound I miss. I wake up each morning listening for it. Then I remember. They've not found him, sir, not yet. I heard of a Felixstowe man given up for dead, brought home by a Belgian boat 3 weeks later. Maybe that's what's happened to Todd. You could make inquiries for me, Mr. Steer. You know people you could ask.
I really ought to go, Mrs. Todd. I'm expecting.
Please, Mr. Steer, please.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Smithson has been reading to us about the Jubilee procession.
But of course you must have a turn.
But we're not doing it anymore, Mama. Look at our fancy dress.
Fancy dress?
Bella has found some old costumes for the fete, and there is to be a competition for the best tableau. The children are... Britannia rules the waves.
And who is to be Britannia?
Oh, how are you, my dear? Where is Reginald?
He sends his love.
He ought to send himself.
Mary, let Emma play too. You have no idea how hard he works. He'll come when he can.
Of course he works hard. But everyone needs a holiday.
Now, that is enough, Mr. Smithson. Now, don't harry the poor girl the moment she gets off the train.
So wonderful to be back.
Look, Mama, look!
What is it?
It's a kaleidoscope. Look through the hole, look!
Oh,
Mr. Steer said it would remind me of the sun.
beautiful. How kind of him.
Oh, he's such a nice young man. I told him you'd be back today, and he said he'd call tomorrow morning for a sitting. Now, children. Now, don't fight so unladylike. Now, be careful. Look, you're tearing my costume.
You must tell me if I do something wrong.
You're allowed to breathe. I want you to be as you are with Emma. Forget yourself.
I can't. I just don't know how to be relaxed.
I'm sorry. It's hopeless. The truth is, we've already done a sitting. I don't really need this session.
I don't understand.
I'd been dozing on the beach. I woke up suddenly and there you were. I've had the picture in my head ever since. Every detail. It's just a question of painting it.
Have you always been a painter?
I took the civil service exam to please my parents, but I knew I'd paint. I wanted people to see the world as I see it. If I could describe things, I wouldn't paint. I have to paint to show the way I feel. Isobel.
You must feel very passionately about your subjects.
Some more than others.
You will come with us to the fete? You've made such a friend of Emma.
I don't much care for fates or parties.
Oh, no, you must come. Really, you must. Emma would be so disappointed.
Well, if it's for Emma's sake.
Emma.
Splendid, just in time for the dance. Welcome, dear friends. Welcome. May I claim the right to sit beside the prettiest lady present? Excuse me, sir. Duty calls, alas.
Emma, you share my chair and let Mr. Steer have yours, and then everyone can sit down.
A polka, I think, was Kate's fate.
Oh, my dancing days are over, Mr. Smithson. And you must remember your condition. Won't you dance, Isobel?
Mrs. Hetherington?
I would prefer not to.
Ladies and gentlemen, scenes from the Empire. Prince Albert proposing to Queen Victoria. Elizabeth and Ronnie. The Indian Mutiny. exploding jets of jewels. A device with large balls of fire.
The tremendous display of silver cascades. An exploding string of golden angels.
I've had an invitation to join friends in France. A painting trip.
Surely,
What?
I thought you planned to spend the summer here.
I had. Perhaps it would be better if I went.
We would miss your visits. Emma will be heartbroken.
Emma. Always Emma.
Not just Emma. We go for a walk in the afternoons along Walberswick Creek. We often stop at the bridge. Will you be there tomorrow? I married Reginald when I was 17. I grew up in a village like this. Did the season in London, obeyed the rules. It was very simple and straightforward. I look back, and I can't think of anything that wasn't decided for me.
Didn't you decide to marry Reginald?
No, he never doubted I would marry him, and I don't remember deciding particularly. One day he was simply there, and that was enough.
But you must love him.
Yes, I must, mustn't I? I have everything I could want. He's very good to the children.
And to you?
And to me.
You asked me once if I cared for my subjects. Well, yes, I do, passionately. But never like this before. Since that day on the beach, I felt...
Inspired?
Possessed.
Are you going to France?
That would be the right thing to do, wouldn't it?
The right thing.
Why are you smiling?
Oh, you sounded so like my husband for a moment.
Nothing can change here.
I must go. The children want me. I'm not 17 now, Philip. I feel quite able to make a decision for myself.
France? That really is most inconvenient, Mr. Steer.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Pierce.
You booked that room for the whole season. That's my best room. That's the one they all want.
I've come to say goodbye. I'm going to France.
But you haven't done my portrait.
Oh, no. I'm sorry.
I knew you wouldn't. Mama, Mr. Steer's going to France.
Go to find Aunt Jude, please, Emma. Will you be coming back?
All right. I wanted to thank you for your kindness before I went.
You'll find other subjects in France, I expect.
That's unfair.
Yes, I'm sorry. Do you think it's good, this painting?
For now, it's perfect. When it's on canvas, well, I have hopes for it.
Even though I was such a poor model?
I must go. Please pay my respects to your aunt.
I know what my decision would be, Philip.
How quiet it is without Mr. Steer to entertain us. We must be very tedious company for you. I was never bored. Well, not that I remember. But then life was so much more social.
You'll stay to lunch, Mr. Smithson.
If you insist.
I do.
She's not herself at all.
Or the heat, perhaps.
No, it's more than that. But you must realize, surely. She's missing her husband.
Your powers of perception never cease to amaze me, Miss Catesby.
Feminine instinct, Mr. Smithson.
Is that a letter, Bella?
Yes, 'tis, Mum.
But I thought I made it clear that any letter was to be brought to me directly.
But, Mum...
Give it to me, please. Do as I say. But this is for Miss Catesby.
I was trying to say so, Mum.
Be sure to say the moment a letter arrives for me.
I haven't forgotten, Mum.
It was rather a surprise to hear from your aunt. I half expected to find you expiring of consumption. Your aunt really does have the most florid style. I don't know what it is about Guildford that provokes such a taste for melodrama. Shall I do that?
I can manage.
She seems to think you're unwell.
It's just the heat some days. It must bother you terribly in London.
No, not really. We should get some people down here. I want to show the place off. The Jameses must be worth a bit. They've got some very nice things here. They're not much use to them in India, are they? I wonder if they'd be interested in selling up. Isobel?
They own some beautiful things.
It's a matter of taste, really. It's an odd thing, taste. Take painting. Your friend Steer now, it's awful stuff. A lot of blobs and splodges. You can't tell who's who. No one buys it. Why should they? But one day, it might be worth a bit. It's taste. That's all it is. Perhaps I should buy something. What do you think? Perhaps not. Painting's a tricky sort of investment. Still, ask him round for lunch one day. It might be entertaining.
He's gone.
Ah. Oh, what a pity. No, never mind. We'll have to make do with the natives, eh?
Letter for you, Mum.
For heaven's sake, girl, not during the meal.
Bring it to me later, Bella.
Isobel, you may as well read it now it's here. And perhaps we could all get on with our meal.
No, I'll take it later. Please bring it back this afternoon, Bella.
Well?
It's from Mr. Steer. He says he's returning to Walberswick.
The painter.
I don't want him to come back.
Don't be impudent. You may go.
All this coming and going, Mr. Steer. Couldn't you have written? I've had to put you in room number 4. I can't keep rooms free on the off chance, you know, Mr. Steer. I've got a business to run. All I ask is a little bit of notice.
Careful with that one, John. Special, is it, sir?
It's a declaration.
We were all surprised when you went away.
Yeah, none more so than myself.
Now back so soon.
Don't tell me that France suffers by comparison with Walberswick's modest virtues.
I thought that the change would be good fun. I find that wasn't the case.
Well, putting miles between yourself and a problem doesn't change the problems, dear. Only its location. Believe me, I know.
There is something I've been meaning to ask your advice on.
Don't put me in the position where I have to judge you, Philip. I value our friendship too highly. There's some journeys have to be undertaken alone. But I can be of some practical help. You need somewhere where you can paint. I have a beach house. It's not much, but it's light and it is comfortable. You can use it whenever you wish.
Hair. Mm-hmm. Teeth. Fingernails. Mm-hmm.
Attention. Right turn. By the left. Quick. March.
I need to go for a walk.
Oh, I'll go with you.
There's no need. I'll be quite happy on my own.
Don't go too far.
see you.
They'll come to look for me.
I'm using Smithson's beach house. Come there at 5 o'clock.
How can I?
Find a way.
I must go back.
5 o'clock.
I promised to visit Mrs. Round for tea.
Oh, dear.
You needn't come.
Thank goodness. Jude can stand in for me.
There's no need to disturb her afternoon rest. She gets so tired. It's only a courtesy visit. I'll be back in an hour.
As you wish. Why not take the children?
I'll ask Bella to get them ready. Bella, I'm sure Mrs. Round won't want to cope with the children. Why not take them to the beach?
But I want to stay with you.
Well, don't be silly. You know you'll be bored with grown-up talk. Buy them a cake each. I'll meet you on the beach in an hour, and we'll walk home together.
I don't know if it's enough, Mum.
I shouldn't have come.
I didn't think you would.
No. I'm supposed to be with Mrs. Round. Reginald dislikes her.
Thank God. The picture is finished. I know it's the finest work I've ever done. Because of you.
I thought I'd lost you forever.
I wanted you to see it. It only exists because of you. I know what this picture is worth. I know it's good. I can feel it.
Turning point.
Yes, I believe so.
Now that the painting's over.
It's just the first. I only have one subject now.
can't stay now. Soon. Aunt Jude will think it odd if you don't call.
I'll bring it with me.
I must go. Where should we go today? Emma, darling?
Don't know.
Emma, apologize to your mother, and then reply correctly.
I beg your pardon, Mama. I don't know.
Oh, we must do something. Sophie?
I don't feel like going out.
Nonsense. We'll go to the beach then. We can't just stay at home doing nothing. Reginald?
I have some business to look over, but you go.
Come on, Emma. Why, Mr. Steer? We heard you were back. I'll show you straight in.
Thank you.
Mr. Steer, sir.
Ah, Isabel's painter. How do you do? Tea?
Thank you.
Come in, come in. I owe you a profound debt of thanks. My wife has talked a great deal of your kindness this summer. I've spent far too much time in London, I know that. One would so much like to be with one's family more, but duty calls, I'm sure you understand. Do sit down, Mr. Steer. Are you a married man, Mr. Steer?
No, I'm not.
Oh, well, then perhaps it seems strange or even sentimental to you, this attachment to the family life.
No, of course not. It's only natural.
Natural. Well, natural or not, I miss them, and there it is.
Perhaps if they'd stayed with you in London.
I wanted them to, of course, but it would have been cruel in this wretched heat. It's far better for them to enjoy the sea air. I'm only relieved that this quiet place was not too tedious for Isobel, and I believe I have you to thank in large measure for that.
She mentioned me then?
Mentioned? My dear chap, she talks of little else. Mr. Steer says this, Mr. Steer thinks that. Aunt Jude, even Emma. You've made many friends in this family.
A new work. Just completed.
Would it be possible? May I?
You're the first to see it.
Splendid. You captured her precisely. It is Isobel, of course. I'm no judge of painting, but I can see that this is first rate.
It goes on display at the Grosvenor soon. But I wanted you all to see it before it was sold.
Sold?
Well, perhaps.
You mean there's some doubt?
My style is not popular.
Mr. Steer, I have a proposition. Sell your picture to me. After all, I have some small involvement. Now, what shall we say? 75 guineas? No, you're right. It's a small sum for a summer's work. You must forgive these business instincts of mine, Mr. Steer. They're most unsuited to an artistic transaction. 100 guineas.
100?
Still too little. You must forgive my naivety.
Mr. Hetherington, I would be taking advantage of your good nature. It's far too much. If you spoke to anyone in the world of art, you'd find that my stock is much lower than you think.
Perhaps. But as I say, I have a special interest. You'll despise my vanity, I know, Mr. Steer. But I have no artistic gift. I hope you'll allow me the pleasure of patronizing one who has.
It's a generous offer, Mr. Hetherington. I accept.
Splendid. Then that's settled.
There is just one small thing. I have promised it to the Grosvenor. I'm proud of it. In fact, I think it's the best thing I've done. I hope you'll allow it to hang in public for a while.
I hardly know what to say, Mr. Steer. Ownership is so new to me. Would it seem terribly wrong if I said no? Having acquired it so recently, you must forgive me if I'm a little jealous. It's a foolish reaction, I know.
Slow down. Emma. God, don't let her be hurt.
She's perfectly safe. Go on home. Go. Go.
I cannot give a blessing in these circumstances. Suicide is a mortal sin. None of us must give way to despair.
despair so much as love killed her.
Love?
She couldn't live without Todd, I reckon. She's happy now.
And her children?
Must have reckoned they'd be better off without her. Parish will tend to 'em.
People don't die for love, John.
I've never been in love myself, Mr. Steer, so I can't say.
Go back to sleep. It's only a nightmare.
I'm frightened.
Oh, but it's all over now. There's nothing to be frightened of.
Aunt,
Yes?
what will happen to Mrs. Todd's children?
They'll be looked after by the parish council.
Will they have to go to a home?
Well, in the beginning, perhaps.
Would I have to go if Mama went away?
Oh, don't be silly. Mama's not going to go away.
She is. I know she is. With Mr. Steer.
Mr. Steer? Why?
I saw them. I saw them on the beach. I saw them.
What? What did you see? Emma? Emma, what did you see? Where are you going? Nowhere. To him? You were both so innocent and all the time plotting and scheming behind my back. Don't defend yourself or him. I've had enough this summer. Reginald will blame me. You were in my care, and all the time you were planning to abandon your own children. God knows what I'll say to him. Aunt! Open the door! Aunt, do open the door! Open the door!
Perhaps you'd ask Bella to arrange our return to London as soon as possible. The season's nearly over. And kindly write to Mr. Steer, inviting him to call tomorrow at 11 a.m. Do I have to keep you locked in? Very well. The garden? Do you think this is a pleasant garden?
Very pretty.
Pretty but not inspiring, you mean? I have no eye for the distinction. And that, I suppose, marks out the man of art knowing the difference. Give me a balance sheet and I'm a happy man, Mr. Steer. Can I call you Philip? Something concrete. I have no idea of the abstract. I understand commerce, the market. You probably think me a great Philistine.
No, not at all.
My wife's aunt is a rather stupid woman, don't you think?
Miss Catesby has been very kind to me.
Miss Catesby believes that you love my wife. Do you? I'm tempted to take your silence as assent, Philip.
I have had a regard for Isobel, yes.
A regard. How prosaic. And what next? A ladder to her window? Moonlight escape? Exile in Italy?
There's been no talk of that.
I took you for an honorable man, Philip. Perhaps I was mistaken. Perhaps this incident was just an artist's amusement, a summer diversion.
No.
I'm sure you'll understand I felt I had to speak to Smithson. He's a decent man. I might almost say typical of his class. I'm sorry to say he seemed shocked, rather out of sorts. He felt that you'd made yourself unwelcome in Walberswick. That's nonsense, I'm sure. Once he calms down, I'm sure he'll see things differently. I urged him to take the long view. A mistake. A youthful indiscretion, soon forgotten. Shall we walk?
Bella, open this door at once! Bella! Bella! No. No. No.
Scandals are a repulsive business. If only there was some way out of this dilemma. You're a young man. You appear to have talent. Who knows what you might yet achieve? There are many families who might be glad of a portrait, a memento. I'm sure that I have very little influence, but I'd be willing to make introductions. Put in a word on your behalf.
Are you proposing to pay me off?
Nothing so vulgar, I trust. I'm simply outlining the choices you appear to have.
I never intended a scandal.
When I was your age, Mr. Steer, I was very like you. I wanted everything without discrimination. I dreamed of taking the city by storm. Now, I'm content with my small share of it. Believe me, the death of that kind of ambition is the relief of a great weight. To give up the struggle. To no longer want what cannot be attained. There lies the real joy, Philip. The quiet happiness of knowing how each day will begin and end. It seems only fair to tell you that my wife agrees with me that the best course is that you should leave here as soon as possible.
I would like to see her.
That could serve no useful purpose. Put this behind you, Philip. Think about the future, the work. What matters more than that?
I have been irresponsible. I should return to London.
And my offer?
I would be grateful for your influence, of course.
Don't be too hard on yourself. One last thing. I would regard it as an unfriendly act if you were to attempt any form of communication with my wife or family. I would then feel under no further obligation to protect your reputation. Well?
I understand.
And I have your word? Good. That's that.
Off again, Steer?
Yeah.
Without saying goodbye.
Some urgent business.
Ah, we'll miss you. Nothing left to inspire you in Wolverswick after all.
Mr. Smithson, have you visited the Hetheringtons recently?
Not recently, no. But hope you might drop by in a day or so, we'll see. Well, maybe we'll meet up in London one day.
I'll meet you at the station.
You can't keep me locked in forever.
I can forgive anything, Isobel, except melodrama.
You've never treated me unkindly, Reginald. You know what the children are to me. Everything is different now.
You give us all up?
Yes.
How strong you are. I've always admired that in you. No, Isobel, nothing is different. It is the same. And it will remain the same forever. Absolutely the same. He's gone. He won't be back. We've come to an arrangement.
No.
I'm afraid so.
I don't believe you, he was. No. No, no, no!
Isobel. Isobel.
Bye.